So as things stand, even though talks are progressing, as things stand, Google is still threatening to pull out, right, of the Australian market.
There's some where they've retracted a little bit on their threat, but that's still their broad public statement is they will pull out of search in Australia if the media code goes through as it is currently proposed.
So a lot of this is going to go over the heads of a lot of our viewers on what this all means. But to break it all down for us, for the humble person at home who's on the internet, what will this mean if Google pulls out?
Most people, like my mum, when she opens the internet, it comes up with says Google and a little box to search in. And you type what you're looking for. It doesn't matter. Most people type a website address to go to, let alone actually physically searching for something. And what they say is that'll just be a black screen. There'll just be nothing there. It'll say unavailable in your country. I would suggest more likely they'll just send us to the US version.
That's what I would have thought.
Because they can still make money. They can still take Aussie searches and take Aussie businesses' advertising money in the US search. Pete, they make $4.8 billion in Australia, just in Australia in revenue. So I don't think they're going to walk away anytime soon.
Would there be a back door for them? I mean, these are smart guys. Is there a back door for them to have Australian advertisers come through the American version of Google?
They could remove Aussie algorithms, Aussie search. So when you search for COVID, you don't get any news items from Australia. You don't even get any the Australian health departments. You'll just get America and other things. But if you search for a plumber, it could still give you a link to an Aussie plumber. There's no reason why they can't take Aussie advertising on the US search engine. There was a time when Google was just a US search engine before there was an Australian version. They could revert to that and still make billions of dollars in Australia.
What about users of Gmail?
I don't think Gmail, photos, cloud storage, all that stuff, I don't think any of it is affected by this threat because they do specifically say withdraw from search. Plus, it's a big revenue thing for them. And there are huge corporations in Australia that use Gmail as a corporate mail tool. So I don't think there's any threat of that leaving.
So when Bing says, it'll play by the rules, it'll give media organisations the money that they deserve for the content, when people at home open up the internet, it'll just go to the Bing page. That's the only difference they'll see.
That's the only difference, but you physically need to make that decision. So I on my computers, and I use Google's browser, Google's software called Chrome, but I've chosen, and you can go in the settings, you can choose default search engine, Bing. So you can make the choice now, today.
Right, you can do that already.
To switch to Bing.
Okay.
And if Google leave Australia, you'll still have to make that choice because Google's not going to suddenly redirect everyone to Bing. But Bing gets 5% of the search now in Australia. If they get 10%, let alone 15 or 20%, they'll be loving the cash, which is why they're happy to hand it over to the media organisations.
Where do you see this going?
I see a compromise of sorts, but not in the code. There'll be amendments to the code from all the senators. There was a strong debate in the Senate committee about this, so there'll be some rough amendments, but I think it will go through, and I think there will be negotiations, and I think Google will come to terms with the media organisations because I don't think there's any way out of it for them. They have to come to terms. They have to negotiate.
And Facebook too?
Yeah, actually Facebook less so because I don't think Facebook's any different without news in it. I think most people wouldn't see any difference to Facebook. So I actually think Facebook is less likely to negotiate, but they'll be forced to if the code goes through.
That's interesting. Trevor Long, good to see you.
Pleasure, mate.
Talk to you again soon.